Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another video where we will be going through more of the bosses in the story quest of Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3. Today we'll be taking on the next two bosses in the sequence. If you missed the first two, please go back and check that out. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. So before we jump into these two bosses, do take a moment and check to see if you are subscribed to the channel, as I bring content to you on a daily basis, and that subscription is free and easy. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and in the comments down below, let me know what bosses you're struggling with, so we can be sure to highlight those in an upcoming episode of this series. So without further ado, let's jump into the boss fights of today's video. So the first boss that we will be looking at is Sandman. And Sandman is pretty straightforward, though he can be quite a difficult boss to take on. But as soon as you understand the mechanics of the fight, he becomes a lot easier. So right off the bat, when you come into the holding cell here, there are two suppression cannons here in the back, which I can only assume shoot concrete over into Sandman. And you just want to man one of those. One of your other teammates should take suit as well and complete the rest of that. As soon as you have an opportunity to, you want to unleash all of your extreme attacks onto the boss while he's completely staggered out here, as that provides a pretty massive amount of damage into him. Now at this point, or at certain points after you take him down, there will be additional grunts that pop into the fight, and it is best and or easiest if you take them on before continuing on with the boss fight, as Sandman hits pretty hard, especially when he's not in that staggered state and is fully aggressive onto the members of your team. But as you run around and take out these opponents, you should be fine as long as you stay out of the range of his melee attacks, as those are the ones that deal the most amount of damage. Now, Sandman doesn't exactly like being suppressed with these cannons back here, and so he will act up and shoot attacks in your way. Depending on which side you're on, he'll do one of a couple of different things or which stage he's in. Typically, he resorts to either sand blasts that are aerial or blasts that are localized along the ground. But as he progresses further and further into the fight, he will start using some undercuts where he punches into the ground and then his fist comes up underneath your feet. So it's not exactly a fun thing when he hits into you like that. But at this point, we've got him down to about 40%, and this is where the fight starts to change a little bit. Now, that hammer attack is devastating if you get caught underneath it, but anywhere else in this arena, it will cause you to stagger out a little bit. So if you mash your dodge button, you should be able to get out of that a little bit quicker. Now at this point, we are just looking to get as many of these opponents taken down as we can. We unfortunately didn't get around to Sandman's attack there, but you do have a little bit of a buffer to know when that attack is coming in with the particle effects that come up in that swirling sand pattern underneath your feet. So as long as you're attentive, you really shouldn't have a whole lot of problems getting around that. Just a couple more of these grunts left to take down, and we actually have our extreme attacks back online as well for the next time we get Sandman staggered out, and that should be pretty close to what we need to get him through the remainder of this fight. Now, Gambit is in a bit of a rough space, and so we are looking to get whatever health we can back on him, or at the very least avoid taking direct hits from the Sandman himself. Now, you can kind of target this reticle around for the suppression cannon, but it's not going to do increasing amounts of damage depending on where you hit him. You really just kind of want to aim at him wherever he is. And that's the attack that I was referencing, where he punches up from underneath you, that you just kind of want to roll around, much like you would any of the other attacks that he unleashes on you. And the nice thing about the extreme attacks is if you have built your mastery set correctly, you can recover a certain amount of health from the extreme attacks as you are using them. And at this stage, we don't quite have Sandman down before he finishes out the fight, so we will need to stagger him down one more time with the suppression cannons, mainly because that's the best time to get damage that's in any way significant dealt to Sandman during the course of this fight. So we dance around these opponents, these grunts that have spawned in, to get a little more of our EP replenished here, and as we continue to run the fight, It's really pretty simple. There's not one particular character that does this any better than others, though that being said, I do really like having Doctor Doom present for the whole team dynamic, because Doctor Doom will spawn in his Doombots, which provide some area of effect attack efficiency as you go through, and really help to mitigate a lot of the damage output that you're really seeking here. Now, unfortunately, Gambit does go down there, as I probably should have switched off of him to any other teammate that was, particularly one with a better health standing in the time being. But your teammates do prioritize reviving any of their fallen team members, so you really shouldn't have to go out of your own way to revive them back up. At this stage, we've just about got the grunts taken down. One more Venom Strike there should just about do it, and it looks like we'll need to follow up with a couple of melee attacks. But at this stage, we just need to go through our concrete suppression cannons here, one final bout, and any sort of attacks, whether they be standard or synergy or extreme attacks, will be more than enough to get Sandman down throughout the remainder of what's left in this fight. And one more bout here will just about do that. I didn't think that I needed to dodge that attack because we were so close to suppressing him out, and with a couple of synergy attacks there, we have Sandman bursted down, and that allows us to move on to the second boss that we're highlighting in today's video, which is a dual boss fight between Electro and Venom. Now, this boss fight is actually quite easy and pretty straightforward, as it has mechanics to it that greatly expedite your own success in it. You start off fighting Electro on his own, and he has some annoying attacks because if you get caught in them, you will get kind of put into a paralysis or staggered out mode. But you'll notice I have my extreme attacks online, but I am conserving them because I think that they better benefit the second stage of this fight. So we are looking to stagger him out with our extreme attacks and our synergy attacks here. Not our extreme, but our synergy and team-based attacks. And this is one of the stages that you really want to watch out for with Electro as he bounces off of the walls, as that can be particularly annoying as it has a high amount of damage if you do end up getting hit by him. With one final set of some uppercuts here from Wolverine, we've got more than what we need to take Electro down and trigger the second phase of the fight, where Venom jumps back down off of the wall, where he wasn't doing a whole lot in the first stage. He was throwing out some of his gunk, his symbiote area of effect type attacks onto the ground to kind of slow your movement. But other than that, he wasn't doing a whole lot. Now, with this mechanic, all of Venom's attacks, which mirror the abilities that he has once you have him available as a playable character, all of his attacks have a souped-up electrical effect with them as well. And as you can't really deal a whole lot of damage to him directly, and his stagger bar doesn't do a whole lot for you either, but what you will need to do here to best take advantage of this portion of the fight is when he jumps up onto the wall, you'll have that little electrical ring, and you can target any of these exposed wires down below to get the most amount of damage in on Venom as you can. Now, unfortunately, Wolverine was in, or I didn't roll Wolverine away quick enough, and as I found out recently, Venom will target a different member of your squad each time. He does not specialize on only the playable character, or maybe that's a quirk at this difficulty or something to that effect. So as you can see here, we're getting some chip damage in, but as soon as we break his stagger here, he doesn't stay staggered for long. The best period of staggering is actually going to be from the mechanic of the boss fight and getting him to unleash those electrically charged attacks jumping down from the wall on the exposed wires on either side of the arena here. So as we continue through, he's just about down to that phase again where he's going to jump up onto the wall. And that's really what we're looking for at this point, as it's the best way to get meaningful damage in on him. Now, we did successfully roll away from him that time around, and we do want to unleash as many of these extreme attacks as we can. And by extreme, I mean synergy. I get them mixed around all the time. But Dr. Doom is a really nice addition here because you can spawn one of the Doombots right on top of Venom as he's staggered out, and then use any of his other signature attacks to max out the damage that you can unleash there, whether that be his energy beam, the focus blasts, or the concussive energy release as well. So at this point, we do roll around Venom's attack there successfully, and that triggers the sirens, and we're going to go ahead and use Gambit and his deadly deal to finish off the rest of this fight. We'll be back on Tuesday with another episode in this series, and if you're enjoying, again, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and you have yourself a great rest of your day.